right? It's
Right.
just like this feeling place of, oh, yeah, that's alive. Oh, conventional will isn't quite functioning here. And, for me, to miss this opportunity for this explosive awakening through the body, and that's what I feel the opening sitting still set you up for.
Yeah.
Again, sitting still, it's like your initiation into sitting. So you're going to want to have some sitting under your belt when, oh, you actually start feeling these very powerful energies, flows of sensation coming alive. And you have enough, uh, I guess, familiarity that you can yield to that. You can let it, uh, you can let it happen. Yeah,
It's
nice
nice to
to
see you.
see you. Like that. Yeah, likewise. Um,
Wow. Finally.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I've been looking forward to this. Like I said, I
Oh,
spent some
good.
time with your website. We're we're both playing with a very similar piece of the puzzle that there's some kind of awakening that
Yes.
happens through the body. That there are, I guess, things that I almost think of them, these practices, as hacks, in the common
Yes.
parlance.
Yes.
I'm hacking my experience from, sort of normal to, whoa, something far more, something or other. And it's good. That's all.
That's the title of your next book, Something
What,
Far More Something or Another.
oh, I don't think I'm writing any more books, but I do like
The
that.
follow-up to the posture.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
terrific book. Terrific book.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so it's interesting. That was the book, the first edition of that came out
Ah,
25 years earlier. That one is was kind of like the 25th anniversary of that book. That's what got a character like me invited into the Buddhist world, right?
wow.
Yeah, because I mean, the Buddhists, such good-hearted, good beings, right?
Yeah.
And a little stiff.
Like you like to say, garden statues.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
frozen like garden
Hey,
statues.
listen. I'm grateful for that. That's how it was introduced to me, and over the years, though, it just seemed, hey, but wait a minute, there's something
Yeah.
not on about this.
Mostly when I talk to people, well, maybe it's just the history of how meditation kind of took hold in the US. It was through psychologists, really.
Well, that's
You,
interesting too, isn't it?
yeah, a lot of psychologists added it to their practice, and they always, the psychologists want to add mindfulness, but low level entry mindfulness and Tai Chi or Aikido, the psychologists, but no other martial art is allowed because it's violent. And I'm like, you don't know the history of those arts. Come on. And
Yeah, yeah.
but when they do, even when they practice Aikido,
Huh.
they when they meditate, they don't include the body. Or
Yeah,
when they practice Tai Chi, which is a moving, should be like a
yeah,
moving meditation,
yeah.
but they don't think of how can I incorporate the body in the meditation? It becomes a neck up mind practice.
Yeah. Okay, let me share something back
Yes.
at you on that, because this is interesting for me. I was, thinking about this, I think just yesterday even, that this awakening through the body is almost like the next turning of the wheel of Dharma.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And where I go with that, one of my go-to texts, seminal text, Satipatthana Sutta,
Yeah.
scholars attribute it to the Buddha himself.
First
Right at the
words.
beginning, here's you sit down. Ooh,
Right.
gets kind of straight up. He doesn't say relax, but at least it's straight up. And then he talks about the breathing, from the
Yes.
beginning of the breathing practice to the culminating. And the opening instruction on breathing is keeping your awareness not in your body, out in front of your body, right? That's kind of where most people live, right? I call
Right.
it this mask thing, right? No, I call it virtual reality headset. We all know that that's part of who we are,
It
right?
is. It is
Okay. The the
the
problem with that
persona.
is that if we get stuck there, it keeps us from settling into these other states. But anyway, it starts off keeping your awareness at the front of your body. So, focusing on the nostrils, front belly wall. I prefer the front belly wall. But
Yeah.
anyway, as you breathe in, remain aware. As you breathe out, remain aware. And that starts addressing the issue that we don't breathe. It doesn't even constitute sniffing. The breath that supports the quality of consciousness that passes is normal, right?
Yes.
So, but anyway, that's interesting. So it's remain aware. That's about the mind. I've got to do
Right.
something. I've got to focus something here in my mind to remain aware. It's for me largely, you could call it, if you're still wanting to separate mind body, right? It's more largely a mental kind of thing that I'm doing, a narrowing of attention, right? And it's about the mind. Hence, the psychologists who got the Dharma
Right. Are
early on, hey, it's speaking my language, right? So here's the deal. This is where I hammer away. Like a few short sentences later, there's an intermediary thing, but it's this altogether radical statement. Now, as you breathe in through the whole body. As you bring it in through the whole body. Now, look, it's no longer a mental
yes.
practice. And this is where I sense,
Amen.
I may be Pollyannish about this. I hope I'm not.
Yeah.
That this is where there could be the next turning of the wheel of Dharma from that opening statement, which, hey, look at most of the Buddhist world that works with breath, it's all about that first level of instruction. Hey, look,
Right.
it's a great practice.
It is.
It's hard, but after a while, breath becomes smoother, more regular, maybe not deep and through the whole body, but smoother and more regular. And that creates, that kind of really sharp, mindful awareness,
Yes.
right? So that's so cool. Uh, the culminating statement is just, as far as I can tell, the Buddha is saying, here's a breath, figure out how to do it.
Right.
Okay? And there's something that, oh, I could feel the entire body while I'm breathing, and whoa, you can feel the breath kind of passing through like a wave through a body of water. But that's where I go with the psychologists, really resonating with early Dharma. And I
Right.
think it didn't go on. Look, you need that foundation, but
Right.
then it's this at times explosively beautiful awakening of something through the body. There's this energetic clarifying,
I
whatever
think
that is, right?
I think what happens is that the early Western teachers of this,
Hmm.
practitioners, they eased into it somehow, and then they had to ease the rest of us into it somehow. And people got through the first level of this mindfulness breathing, focus on the nostrils, focus on
Yeah.
the navel, and went out and started teaching and spreading. And the
Hmm.
other stuff didn't move with it. And then they got trapped in that practice. That exercise, the entry became the whole Dharma, not just the door to the Dharma.
Right.
And that's what's gone round and round. And now you can just chew a raisin while you're breathing. I mean, that doesn't actually change anything in terms of moving it in through the body. It just makes your awareness different.
Well,
Still
exactly.
in the head.
That's why I say that's where it starts. Hallelujah. Because
Yeah,
ordinarily I'm lost in thought, I've
absolutely.
got some kind of picture going on in my mind. If at that moment I examine how I'm breathing, I'm hardly breathing at all,
Right.
right? It's almost like I have to hold my breath, hold my body still and not breathe to be lost in thought.
Yeah.
Okay. So, from there, oh, well, I get this. Oh, body has to awaken. Oh, breath could expand the whole body on the inhalation, like an amoeba, right? Right. And right up through the cranium, down through the feet. And it's so natural. This is what I love about the practices. Not that they're always just wonderful and easy because they
Right.
dredge so much of the deep karmic primal contractive stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It depends how you get into meditation, I think, too, because that anchors your perspective, right? So you come from a somatic background. I mean, you trained with Ida Rolf. I learned about Ida Rolf. My father, who's passed away a decade ago or so, but he was an old osteopath and he had studied with Ida Rolf and had all these old books from Ida around. And he was the kind that did all the adjustments before chiropractic was big. The old osteopaths did it. So I
Right.
learned all these things with him about, he went to school in Iowa, so he studied and did 10-day retreats with the Maharishi, uh,
Ayash Yogi, yeah,
Mahesh
they
Yogi.
went to Iowa,
Yeah, they went
right?
to,
It's
of
like
all places,
the field of dreams
the
that had
Field
to
of
be in
Dreams, and that's where the
Iowa.
osteopathic college was that my dad went to.
Yes, and I know that Ida really enjoyed her connections with the osteopathic community.
Yes.
They were at least receptive to what she was, coming up with, understanding, and how she was interacting. Now, I want to up the ante on that one now
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah,
Look, Rolfing, to this day, mostly what we know, it's this very, very deep hands-on work, right?
yeah.
That was one of her genius. She gave herself permission to really dig
Dig in.
in to the body. Now, she struggled with understanding that this work to get out there, you have to work on the body.
Yeah.
And she came up with this 10 session recipe that a lot of now contemporary Rolfers find limiting. No, I want to help the person with their issue, and it can become quite a bit more physiotherapeutic. I have no problem with
Right,
it.
right.
People, it's really nice to have pain relieved. Uh,
Yes.
I, Ida had a different vision on this, though. And that's why she had this 10 session recipe, because it would work everywhere on the body. Now, after those 10 sessions, this was her vision, right? Believe me, most of us who've been into it have had a lot more than 10 sessions, right?
Right.
But her vision was that would then, like an initiation, that would then give your body enough awakening, uh, and enough relief and release to start playing with upright balancing,
Mm.
like a totally surrendered dance.
Wow.
And I've sensed, again, I talk about this when I talk with my students, again, it's like we're hacking, in the contemporary
Yeah,
parlance,
yeah.
our our relationship to our experience of gravity.
Mm.
So mostly we're just, it's there, right? But oh, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Here's the hack. There's something that can happen. It's about playing with upright balancing. Okay? Ida used to call it the line, which was unfortunate because it's not a linear thing,
Right, right.
right?
We have a
I
yes
I
curve.
I think of it as, but when I'm there's a lightning that comes through the body when you kind of dance with that. I think of this upright axis, the vertical axis that I'm dancing with, is kind of like an imaginary friend,
Yeah.
right? Now, and I want to, because when I do that, suddenly there's a lightning that comes through the body. Now, uh, Ida was also clear that was, hey, great, you're going to feel better, right? But that's not the game. And she was very, very tuned in to some of the Greek mystery schools, that there
Hmm.
were initiation practices to go into these schools, and one would like to believe, big openings, humans really experiencing deep potential, what it is.
Threshold experiences.
Right.
Yeah.
And for her, this uh, dance of upright balancing would be transformational. It wouldn't be me just feeling better, or me, Will, feeling, wow, I'm really, you know, no, it's like something just lets go through the cranium. This whole, I call it virtual reality headset, our normal headspace,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because it's right here. It's right
We're all
here.
in it all the time.
Yeah, all the time. That's me. Hey, listen, I need that to function in the world of form,
Right.
right? And uh, what we're playing, it's so interesting because what we're playing with here is the most physical kind of thing going the body, right? And yet it's uh, most of us I think believe that they have a body, that they are this body, but they don't experience it,
Right.
right? And then we start bringing I call it the shimmer, the sensations everywhere. You just relax and all this, whoa, vibratory stuff everywhere. Not all like soft falling rain. Suddenly, whoa, I didn't know I was holding so tightly there, right? But this is the path or the journey, the
Yeah.
current. And, that starts transpiring. And for me, what it's been, wrestling with this, dancing with this, all my life, right? Is that there's something that happens. Uh, Conventional will just sort of disappears, and something other. It's some kind of, I hesitate to call it an entity. It's just a force, and it's beautiful. It's a very beneficent force of awakening. And I see that's just what's here in all of us if we give ourselves permission to kind of let go,
Get out of our own way.
get out of our own way. A big ask.
Big ask. In
Yeah.
Tai Chi, in the Tai Chi classics, one of the first, I forget if it's the first line, but it says, stand as if your head is suspended from above by a golden thread. So you're dangling. It doesn't say stand up, but you're suspended from this thin gold
Okay.
thread.
This is
So that would
good.
give you a thing.
Totally.
And what I
Totally.
find super interesting is that all of the in the science classes, in school, all of the skeleton dummies
Right.
are hung from the middle of their head, and
That's
they've all
true.
got either upward head looking or downward head looking. But if you align the point in Qigong, they call an acupuncture Bai Hui, hundreds meeting
Okay.
point, which you take the tip of your ears to the center and the line directly back. And that's where the golden thread goes. Your head actually hangs level with the chin in instead of sticking out like in those things. And
Yeah.
that's the
So
golden
you're not
thread,
like this or you're not
or
like
like that.
this. Right.
But it's
Right.
not directly on
Beautiful.
top. It's just slightly back of, to the hold.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. It's slightly behind. Sometimes I'll like
Yeah. That's the ear
imagine
alignment.
I'll split my face in two.
Yeah.
And out here, it's virtual reality
More
headset. This is
Ken.
Will. This is me out here functioning in the
Will.
world. And there's so much tension. My eyes are getting drawn, out to the world. And then there's just this mystery space,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's palpable. You feel it. I really like that. I love that
Yeah.
idea of suspension. Let me add something to that because here's where I've gone with that. That I think a lot. Well, my practice really it's just letting go a lot now, but it's letting go, playing with balancing, letting go, inviting sensation to awaken, and then relax. Just relax through it. Surrendering to the breath. The Buddha talks about a breath that breathes
Yeah.
through the
The breath breathes.
yeah, yeah, through
Yeah.
through the whole
Yes. Yes.
thing. So here's the deal. There's that place up here.
Yeah.
Now, uh, one of the things that happens with this, I mean, it's luscious when you find it, but it's not like I'm trying to figure out breathing through the whole body and I'm going to do it that. That's just,
Right.
you do that and then there's a whole other letting go and a spontaneity that occurs, right? But with that, and with the extension, holding up
Yeah.
there, what happens? The body is going up and down on the
Yes.
breath. So that's
Yes.
get
It's
that.
it's
So it's
like a
not just
bellows.
I'm because this getting this is stuck up, right?
Right.
stuck up. It's just the opposite. We're looking for that thing that's alive.
I lived in Japan for a while. My first job out of college, it was in Tokyo, working for an English language publisher. And yeah, so that gave me a lot of opportunity to travel around Asia, because which I had
Wow.
been doing anyway at that point. But one thing I noticed with the meditators, specifically in Zen, uh, in Japan, was this whole rule of do not move.
Do not move a single
Face the wall,
muscle
sit,
fiber.
be the garden statue, do not move.
Mhm.
And the sensei, I forget all the terms for their group, but he would come with the stick and hit you when your shoulder twitched or your head moved. Now, it's telling you not to move, but the lungs have to move. So now you have to think to contract yourself while you breathe so you don't accidentally expand, which is a normal human bodily thing.
Yeah.
You say the amoeba, I like the jellyfish,
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
thing, same thing,
Yeah.
same
Totally.
thing.
Another one that I use for the diaphragm.
Yeah,
I live in Costa Rica, and
yeah.
we're out in the water. I don't know, a couple years ago. We don't go out much, right? But with friends on a boat, and we came across this
Oh,
school of manta rays,
manta rays. I was gonna say
and
stingray,
I'm
but
just
manta rays.
getting. That's
They're
how I
like,
want my diaphragm to
right.
move in all directions. And it's just a letting go, because ordinarily we're like this,
Right.
holding so still, and just inhibiting it. The stone, sitting in the stone garden statue of the Buddha, you cannot breathe through your whole body. It's not possible.
It's not possible. But so let's take a step back,
Sure.
because you've been writing about that. You have a book, Breathe with the Whole Body, and you've
Mhm,
been doing I mean, you've done a bunch of podcasts and talks about it.
mhm.
But and we're talking about it now. But for my listeners here, why is it important, Will Johnson, that one breathe with the whole body? And what's wrong with just sitting still?
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Sitting still, just kind of slowing down can be really, really good
Right.
for that opening introduction to the practice of just starting to become aware of the breath in the front of the body, maybe right at your nostrils,
Yeah.
coming in, going out, coming in, going out. The issue with that is that if you keep doing that, sitting, very still like that, you're just introducing and creating more pain, tension, fascial holding, getting locked, and it's just going to fester, and breath stays extremely small.
Yes.
Okay, so and for me, look, I went through a lot of conventional practice. I really liked it. It was really challenging, right? But I really, really loved it
Yeah.
as well. And then I got to a point I just wanted to explore sitting on my own,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, I do. I have this somatics background, and I knew there, had to be a way, and I've had enough very large openings through what Ida Rolf was talking about. That kind of uh, uh,
Eureka moments.
yeah, just but they're not even like eureka. They're somatically eureka, right? It's
Right.
just like this feeling place of, oh, yeah, that's alive. Oh, conventional will isn't quite functioning here. And for me, to miss this opportunity for this explosive awakening through the body, and that's what I feel the opening sitting still sets you up for.
Yeah.
Again, sitting still, it's like your initiation into sitting. So you're going to want to have some sitting under your belt when, oh, you actually start feeling these very powerful energies, flows of sensation coming alive. And you have enough, uh, I guess, familiarity that you can yield to that. You can let it, uh, you can let it happen.
Yeah.
I, and I mean, it's interesting, Mark. To be honest, how I view a lot of the contemporary Buddhist world that is, burgeoning here in the West. It's more about becoming a better person.
Yeah,
Hey, that's really good. That's
right.
really,
It's
keeping
compassion and gratitude,
compassion and
which is beautiful.
gratitude and metta. Metta and hey, the world needs a lot of that. But that for me, in many ways, is not any different from being a good Christian, being a good anything, right?
Right,
Right. We want to be good people. We
right.
want to be good people, right? We don't want to be flaming jerks, right? But uh, having said that, that still stays
I
within the
agree.
structure of conventional uh, human reality and human beings. Every single one of us has this potential to kind of hack our system in a little way. I'm just using that term a lot lately. That's what
Yeah,
this meditation practice is. That's what Qigong is. That's what Tai Chi is. That's what yoga is, right? That's what aerobics is. We're doing something other than, kind of lying in bed or
on our
sitting at
phones.
our desk, yeah, and
Right.
kind of
Scrolling.
scrolling through
Yeah,
our phones. And uh, it's interesting. I do say this, and I don't say this pejoratively at all. But people, if what they want is to, and I have a lot of psychologist friends who are also mindfulness teachers. Goes hand in hand. It's
it
beautiful,
does.
right?
Yeah.
And if what people want is, my life is out of control and my mind is a mess and I'm screwing up here and there and everywhere, and I'm just doing some basic mindfulness practice, it's wonderful. That's what they need. If that's what you're wanting, it's the mindfulness people. The stuff that I'm playing with, and I totally sense that you're playing with as well, is that okay? There's something else that happens. I know there's feeling, presence everywhere in the body. Gee, why don't I feel it? Oh, what happens if I do allow this felt presence to come forward? And then what really happens if I actually start letting go through it and relaxing? And I'm like on this journey right around
Right.
this video game, and whoa, hey, this isn't Kansas anymore. And all for me, the ability to have access to just this fundamental human dimension.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's so experiential. I mean, it's so real and very alive, right? It, uh, honestly, I don't know what your experience is, but for me, I almost feel, that I can wake up in the morning and I'm, groggy and I'm kind of in my, conventional will body, it's kind of achy, it's not breathing very much, and that's okay. And then I can start doing these practices, and all of a sudden it's wow, that's better. And it's not just that yes, it's a lot better, but it's also very different, not just in terms of
Very
feel,
different.
very
I
different.
think
There's a
what we're
different
talking
level of
about,
presence.
I think
Yeah,
what we're talking about, what we both sought or prefer is something other than meditation. It's like body meditation, not mind, it's whatever we want to call it. I like to call it just, you know, the experience of embodied, of being feeling embodied through whatever practice you're doing.
yeah,
That
exactly.
that practice living through your body, not just your mind, or not just lifting weights and not thinking about, listening to music, and that's a body, but it's not embodiment, right? And you come out of this somatic background, which is body, and then you're meditating, which is mind, and you're like, yeah, man, because you're just like, hey, I'm young and eager in the, I guess, the 60s or whenever, and all this stuff's coming out. And, I'm
Yeah.
20 years younger than you.
Yeah, no, I'm
So
a child of the 60s.
we'd never
Full
know it by looking at
disclosure,
you.
I
Don't
majored
worry.
in the 60s at university.
But like, hey man, let's pull this body into this mind thing, or you just can't help it because it's what you're doing at the time.
Yeah.
So over time it evolves. But I think most people find mindfulness through their psychologist or in college through studying psychology or through friends who did a course with a psychologist. And most people are breathing with like top 10% of their lungs.
Teensy, teensy, teens. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Chinese have a saying in Chinese medicine,
Hmm.
when you're born, the baby breathes deep from its lower belly, their dantian. Adults breathe from their chest, and before
Okay.
you die, you breathe from your neck, your throat.
Well,
You know,
mhm.
when you're close to death. And most of us are between the Adam's apple and above the xiphoid process in the ribs. I mean, most people are breathing just like that. So sitting in Zazen, you're still breathing the same amount because they don't. But like you
Yeah.
say, there you get these experiences,
Yeah.
and once you feel it once, you want to repeat it, and
Yeah.
you look for ways to repeat it.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple of things came up for me. One, just to share, uh, I was absolutely not any kind of body guy
Mm,
as a young guy, right? I was, I would probably have been, I was schoolish. I did well academically. Athletics, that wasn't there. And then I was artsy. I played music, right?
nice.
And, it was in my early 20s that I first became aware that, maybe there's something about the body. Well, I got drawn to being Rolfed. I was a
Yeah.
young guy. Yeah, you know where that came from. I was living in New York. I just graduated from university, and the first Whole Earth catalog came out. I don't know that was way before your time. And there was a thing about Rolfing, and I was eating that catalog up, all these things, because
Wow, it's
I
exciting.
wanted what this was. Yeah, and something resonated with me. And when I moved to California, that was definitely one of the things that I did. So uh, I've come into this entrance into my body very gradually, and I have had to deal with. We all have this each in our own way, but I have had to deal with this quality of body that I lived in for the first 20 odd years of my life that was very, very mindy. I did good academically, or I'd kind of get into playing the guitar.
Yeah.
Uh, so that was really really big. Now I've been playing with it. I want to share this one with you because it starts with something that I think someone shared with me as an old Zen saying, and I like this. And they talk about at the onset of the inhalation, I think the expression is, let the bottom drop out of the bucket.
Huh.
In other words, just totally letting go through the belly and right down through the anus into the
Right.
earth.
Wow.
Wow, you get it there. You get it down there. Now, uh, I also then want to uh, give my diaphragm, free the diaphragm.
Rearrange diaphragms.
Free-range diaphragm, right? For like the manta ray. So there's then this one. Okay. And then the third one, and this gets interesting. I want to breathe in such a way that I'm letting go and kind of the mask comes off and visual field is
Mm,
just here. And I want to do all three of those simultaneously,
yes.
not in order.
Without thinking.
Without, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's crazy making because you do it, then you got it. My mind goes, oh, I got it. And as soon as my mind goes, oh, I got it, you've lost it again, right? But there's something lovely about this. as a breath that really grounds me while, opening this kind of radiance, spreading it in all directions. And then the whole mind stuff getting soft,
Yeah.
melting. And, uh, just the awakened body disappears into vision. This is what I'm
Beautiful.
playing with. This is what I'm
Beautiful.
playing with. Is that what I like about that, Mark? That's when it's not just the awakening of my personal body. And look, uh, probably 95% of my focus is still working, healing, letting go through the physical body, right? But it's also this kind of awakening through what I call the large body of experience.
Hmm.
Because when I open my eyes, if I'm breathing through the whole body, everything gets relaxed. Up Abacularis orsi through the cranium, and then suddenly there's the whole visual field all at once just appearing, and I'm not there, right? So and putting those together, uh, that's for me where you get into like even bigger body,
Right.
right? Right? I play a lot with visual field.
Hmm.
Okay. The first of all, there's this awakening through the body, right? And then, how ordinarily you open your eyes and you get all this tensioning, you're peering, these visual objects are, just luring you out of yourself. And we get into these holding patterns in the eyes. So it's very, very different, very, very different. Okay, you get kind of this breath going, body's awakened, playing with balancing, and eyes come open, and it's almost like the visual field is another source of healing
Yes.
of the tension embedded in the cranium. Uh, and when that happens, I feel like an awakened body. Oh God, it just spreads out. It kind of touches into every little pixel of the visual field, and you get this other joining.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah,
And in all of that, I didn't want to interrupt you, so I was
yeah,
making notes
yeah.
because
Go
it's
ahead.
all beautiful.
Yeah,
But
great. Great.
I had a couple of things I wanted to share with you.
Yeah,
One
good.
is I heard you talk about this on some podcast or maybe it was the tricycle talk. I forget where recently. Um, and you said just what you said now a moment ago about the bottom falling out, when you breathe
Yeah.
in. But
Uh-huh.
you said something more simple,
What did I
which
say?
struck me, which was you said Mark Wiley is amazing. Now, what you said was
I remember saying
you
that.
do, yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
remember that. But I have no idea what you're about to say.
That's right. Yeah. You said start relaxing on the inhale.
Yes.
And let me tell you, 40, 30 some years later, that's the first time I heard that was
Yeah.
just recently from
Good.
you.
Yeah.
And it opened up in the last 3 or 4 or 5 days, a whole different level, high fives, of
Yeah.
relaxation and
Totally.
depth in the body because
Totally.
I'm always been okay, look, my stress is here, just say, right? And
Okay.
then I'm going to inhale.
Okay.
Okay, now I exhale, and the stress goes down. Now watch, I hold that inhale because I don't want to inhale and have the stress go up. Inhale while staying at the relaxed state, then exhale. Now, it'll take me 20 breaths to get here. Now, you said start relaxing on the inhale, and look how fast it goes down. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It is.
You
It is. I
hear
remember.
something some way,
Yeah.
and it can change your practice, and that's why I love your work.
Okay, thank you for that. And that meant a huge amount to me when, look at I do these practices and then I never thought of that. So remember, we're sitting.
Yeah.
We're one of the things that we're doing here in this hack is
What the heck?
I'm playing with upright balancing.
Yes.
Okay, if I'm all slumped over, I'm all tense. If I really let go, I'd fall on my face. So, but I want to, if I'm playing, dancing with this imaginary friend, and you feel it going, sitting really through the, from the, the seat, below your sacrum, right out through the top of your head, standing earth to heaven, right through you. Okay, got that? And so if I'm doing that, what's happening, I don't have to brace myself against gravity. I don't have to be afraid that I'm gonna, if I'm kind of like this and I really let go, I just dissolve into a puddle, right? No, because it's almost like I'm floating here in a weird way. Like gravity creates kind of a sense of buoyancy. This lightning, it just occurs, just finding this lightning. So I can let go, and what I can do then at the onset of inhalation is totally
Wow.
surrender the weight of my body to the pull of gravity, and I don't fall over. What happens? A big breath comes in, and it's almost like a
A hot air
hydraulic
balloon goes
thing, a
back.
hot air balloon.
Yeah.
It just fills up, and I don't
Fills it
fall
up
over.
again.
I kind of, float up. And again, well, this is really coming up again the last couple of days, remembering this notion that this inhalation, this fullness of inhalation is filling me up and taking me tall. The exhalation, relaxation, I'm constantly going up and down. The body is constantly going up and down through through the spine, filling, relaxing. And I'm thinking, I wonder if I've mentioned, I can't remember if I mentioned it in some of the books that you're talking about, but, and Ida Rolf was very enamored of Emanuel Swedenborg, this
Mm.
18th
Yeah.
century
The
Swedish mystic.
philosopher. Yeah.
Yeah, well, more than a philosopher,
Yeah.
Ida would gush about him. And I even remember her saying one day that the citizens of Uppsala looked upon him like Jesus Christ. Those are
Oh,
her
he was
words.
deep. Yeah.
Yeah. And he obviously he had some kind of awakening. And this one blew my mind when I first heard it. He evidently attributed what it was happening to him to his understanding that for him the purpose of breath. See, this is a time before people knew there was oxygen in the air. There's
Right.
Lavoisier and Priestley contemporaneously, but no internet, right?
What is the
So
purpose of the lungs? To cool the heart. I don't know. The
yeah.
guessing. They
Oh,
were
was it?
guessing.
Yeah. So yeah, you know that. That was the predominant theory. I read when I was doing the looking into reading some stuff before I wrote Breathing Through the Whole Body, that first one. I got a book called A History of Breathing Physiology,
Oh,
and it's
wow. Cool.
fascinating. All these different theories of why we breathe. But anyway, come on, the Buddha said breathe through the whole body. He had no idea that it was oxygen, but he knew
Right.
that something was
You knew the body
awakening
could move.
and
Yeah.
something was livening. Now, Swedenborg attributes his what had happened to him uh, to his observation that for him, the ultimate purpose of breath was to keep the spine in constant motion.
No kidding. That
Yeah.
is great.
Isn't that
That
wild?
is deep.
Isn't that wild? Yeah. To keep, this is exactly what
Not
we're
frozen still,
not
in
frozen.
motion.
It's not a fence post, not a column in a Greek temple. And and it's also, it doesn't just go straight up and down, it
Right.
undulates, it torques. When you're in this dance of playing with balancing, letting go, uh, I sometimes think of this practice, it is for me, it's my personal psychotherapy, somatic
Right.
therapy, spiritual therapy.
Indeed, for
That
sure.
is, every day I sit and something else starts moving and something else starts happening and something maybe from a different level starts emerging. And it just keeps playing itself out. Uh, but this notion of the spine, every vertebra in the spine moving with every breath.
It's amazing.
How
I love
about
it.
that? How
I
about
love
that?
it. I love it.
So yeah, to me, the onset of inhalation, I let go of my head, almost like it can even sometimes just
Ah,
drop, almost as Buddhists talk
like,
about dropping your mind, right? Just whoa, and then and then it just everything just keeps undulating. So there's this, constant, motioning now when, and it's so natural. Nothing could
yeah,
be more natural or more relaxed or easy or frankly loving and kind. And here
to
I'll
your
just
body
detour.
for
I'll
sure.
detour, I'll detour back to, the contemporary Western Dharma world, metta. I mean, it's so beautiful. It really is often all about metta. I want to share my good feelings. I want people to be happy, right? Uh, so we want to express loving kindness. Sitting like a stone garden statue of the Buddha, hardly breathing, is not being as loving anywhere nearly as loving or as kind as you can be to yourself,
Yeah,
right?
so no one has to put themselves through the stress of trying to sit still and breathe and shut their mind down to be loving, kind, compassionate, you know. So I think the two things can be could be separate. uh,
Well, hey,
but
look at it. It's always an evolution.
it is. It is.
I cut. Oh, look at! I am so grateful for the
Yes,
Buddhist that's come into my life, right?
that's right.
And over the years, I had to summon up the courage to shun some of what I saw as
Yes.
the Dharma's shadows in order to experience its light. Now, I hesitate even to call it its shadows. I think the thing that I think about this a lot. Every time the Buddhist Dharma has migrated to a new territory, interacts with the new culture and the psychology and whatever's going on there, the practices change.
Yes.
So I have the vision of these gentle Chinese monks getting off. I mean, this is total fantasy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Gentle Chinese monks getting off the boat on the shore of Japan, and they encounter the
Oh,
samurai, and Zen becomes fierce. And
right.
clearly
You're
the Chinese
sitting.
monks
Yeah.
don't say, hey, dudes, chill out, right? Now,
Right.
that ain't gonna happen. Zen becomes a fierce practice,
It does.
entirely appropriate, probably to whatever that was going on. I think of
You're right.
the teachers from, I think it was from the Shaivite Tantric community of northern India.
Hmm.
They climb the Himalayas onto the Tibetan plateau.
Mm,
They encounter the indigenous Bompo and the Bompo religion, right? And what we know is Tibetan Vajrayana is more reflective of traditional Bumpo than it is of what the Buddha was doing in Varanasi,
right.
right? So, and every time it moves, it changes. So look, the Dharma is coming to the West, right? And just as what didn't work in China didn't quite, it had to change for Japan, and what was so in northern India got modified up in Tibet. What is coming over from Asia really needs to grow, expand into a new form,
Yeah.
and it's without losing the core essence. And so I get here's I guess we're maybe moving a little bit into talking about this, but the first thing that I look back on in my life, the ubiquity of music.
Mm,
Okay, music used to be a rarity, right? And the music that is being played and our young at heart people are listening to is music that gets you
move.
moving, right? So and we realize, hey, there's something beneficial. Look, I've had, there are a handful that I can think of over the years, uh, wonderful uh, young people, 20 something, 30 something, that 3 o'clock in the morning, something happened to them at a rave. And
Wow.
so, and their body couldn't stop moving and they weren't moving it, right? And they experienced something very, very different. So in, many ways, I bring, the sitting that I do, it's so motile, Mark. There's this uh, place, sometimes body just wants to move. Another of the traditions, practices I like to cite, it opened in me spontaneously. Uh, but out of Indonesia, there's a spiritual practice called the latihan,
Hmm.
out of the Subud organization, okay?
Okay.
In the latihan, you just stand, something happens, you let go, and the body starts moving.
Wow.
It starts moving. Now that's what happened to me as I started exploring these line states, right? And and I wasn't initiating the movement, but these energies were opening, and the breath was surging through. And to the degree that I could just surrender to that, allow it to happen, it was amazing,
Yeah.
right? The the other one, and we may or may not want to want to talk about this, uh, is look, what is probably the largest? You ask an ordinary person, have you had a large spiritual opening in your life? Well, yeah. What happened? Well, I was 23 and I went with friends on a backpacking trip
Did
up
LSD.
in the mountains, and they gave me this LSD stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we're also living in a culture where whew, that
Wow.
has been the accessibility, the availability, the advent of these substances that can also support the awakening that we're talking about here. In my teaching, I probably have 50-50 what I call my Pure Land students. These are,
I love
yeah,
it.
yeah. And they're people often they've come out of
They're
Vipassana
Vipassana,
or Zen.
Vipassana people. Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't even drink coffee, no alcohol, and they certainly wouldn't take substances, right? And they do that because that's what works for them.
Yeah.
The other half of my people, and I actually call them Ganja Sangha,
I
that
love it. I love
that
it.
they will
Ganja Sangha.
tiny bit of cannabis as a catalytic medicine before they sit down. Now, you think about that. Uh, why are the skiers, the surfers, the snowboarders, the skaters, why are all those kids having a toke before they go out? Because they get into it, awakens the body. So for some people, uh, and we're at such a cutting edge of this because the prohibitions have squelched protocols uh, for how to use these substances in a way that supports and catalyzes the awakening rather than whoa, takes you even further away from it. But
Yeah.
but this is what I think is going to be happening in the Dharma world. Definitely this awakening through the body is
Hmm.
for everybody. I think it's different for everybody whether they're going to catalyze their practices with some of these entheogenic, very small amounts. I'm not
Hmm.
talking about huge amounts, right? I'm just talking about a small amount that, whoa, I can stay sitting. Wow, it supports my sitting. It supports this letting go. But not so much that I'm lying on my back and
Get
just,
stoned. Hey,
yeah,
man.
just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
spinning. Now look, there's benefits to all of that as well, but that's something very different. I'm talking about practices, and so I do. Okay, I'm going to share this. That I'm a '60s guy, right?
Yeah.
We would pop it in our mouth, go for a walk in the mountains, and by the afternoon, we're just opened into something very, very large, right? In the last 15 and 20 years, it's more the psychotherapy world
It's
that
correct.
kind of is wanting to
It
claim ownership uh, for the use of psychedelics. Hallelujah, right? For the stories I've heard of people with PTSD and trauma and addictions, being helped. Well, duh, it only makes sense, right? That's wonderful. Now, both of those in the 60s, and then what the therapists are doing, are using, large doses. I want kind of a third level. If to do a practice, this is what I talk about to the Ganja Sangha people. You have to be careful. You do not want to take so much that it starts disorienting you. But
Right.
then, okay, I've had my vision quest opening. I've done my psychotherapy, and believe me, there are plenty of people. In the 60s, the problem was there were no guardrails, and there were some
Right.
people that got hurt, okay, that should never have been doing these kinds of substances. With the psychotherapeutic world, I think there's too many guardrails that
Yes.
I want them to
Well, it's
say,
an
okay,
overcorrection,
yeah, now
Yeah.
here's okay, we've worked on your stuff. Now I want you to go on a vision quest out in the mountains, right? Because
Right.
that to me is sort of that ultimate healing from that kind of path. I'm talking about using, okay, we've had these openings. How do I keep nurturing that? How do I keep uh how do I keep reinforcing the awakening, the letting go, the growing in radiance
Right.
that I experience. Because all too often people, we had our the LSD trip up in the mountains, and you go back to business as usual. It's
Right.
not.
Right.
It's not.
Right.
You know what else was interesting? The first time I'm remembering I think it was mescaline. They had a
Mm.
synthetic mescaline back in the day.
Yeah.
And I knew I was not hallucinating. I knew that what I was experiencing was just an altogether natural, potential um, place of something or other. And that, I started looking upon then what passed as normal as the altered state.
Right. It was
Really,
just,
really, really altered, because
yes.
you're sitting here. I mean, it's not kind or loving to your body to sit stiff and unmoving for hours. It's torturous, right?
Not
Or it
only
can
that,
be.
but our
Look,
lifestyle
and
is,
please, all you Buddhists out there listening to this, don't
we love you.
misunderstand me.
Yeah.
I love the practices. I'm just wanting now to take it up
Right.
to the
Right.
next level, and
Yes.
really be. And what's interesting too, that when this stuff lets go, what comes through? When I say this other comes through, this other is very loving. It's very joyous. It's very loving. It's very beneficent.
Well, it has to be because we're getting closer to the creator, to consciousness or whatever you want to call it, right? To the one. So, and that's all just love. I mean, that's the center. That's the center.
We
Mm.
know that. We know that. That is one of our guiding principles, I think, for so many of us. And then, oh, we have these poppings and these openings and awakenings, and oh, it's not just a principle. It's,
It's
oh my
truth.
God, real. Oh,
It's
it's
truth.
this feeling is very loving.
Yeah.
I sometimes refer to it as ecstatic.
Yeah.
It's
Nice.
ecstatic,
Ecstatic. Yeah.
it's ecstatic. Just, what I also find, Mark, is when I'm doing my practices or teaching, uh, that the letting go, I have to give myself permission to, feel into that stuff, not just being a talking head or a moving body, right?
I was going to ask you, just as an aside, in
Mhm.
preparing to talk with you,
Yeah.
because I've been reading your stuff and listening to your stuff for probably more than a decade.
Wow.
And and I had made lists of notes of things I wanted to talk about. So I had 11 pages of notes.
Ah!
I haven't asked a single question because we don't
Ah!
because we don't need it. We don't need it. It's tracking. But I'm actually going to pull up a question which was,
No,
I think,
do. I want to hear what
top
they
on the
are.
list because you just gave me the segue, which is
Okay.
how do we give ourselves permission to let go? You can't just say, All right, let go now and be spiritual and be relaxed. How do
Right.
you give yourself permission? We don't know how to give ourselves permission.
Yeah.
You can't just say it to yourself. Like you can't just be, Ramana Maharshi and say, "Who am I?"
Yeah.
And it happens. So how do we give ourselves permission?
Yeah. You know that I'm wordy at this point,
No,
so
but I love it.
I'm gonna get to
You'll get to
answering
it.
that through it. I did a
Circuitous routes.
podcast with someone a while ago, and a very sweet guy. And at the end, he was like, "Whoa, no, Mr. Johnson, yes, I can see how what you're doing is really dramatically different from what's coming over from Asia. Is there one last little nugget, any central core principle that about how what you do, what you teach?" And I thought of that for a moment, and what I said is that, you know what? I can't remember what his name was. I said, honestly, what I'm doing with people, I'm giving people permission to let go.
Yes.
I'm giving people permission to let go. Now, uh, I have two places to go. One, I have, people that have come and, wanted to, oh, I'd like to study with you so I can teach this kind of stuff. Hey, I enjoy doing that. It's a lot of fun, right? And they will ask, as a teacher, a teacher, someone who's the permission giver,
The
right?
permission giver.
Okay, how do you give permission to someone to let go? Well, I can sit here and say, I have permission to let go. You have my permission, till I'm blue in the face. How someone gives another person permission to let go, I have to give myself permission to let go.
Right.
So this is what I love about the teaching, because I get to do the practice, right? Now, for me, and again, that we were just talking about it, and it gets very somatic. That can a body let go? Well, if I'm playing with upright balancing, remember at the onset of inhalation, I can completely surrender the weight of my body to the pull of gravity, almost like free falling through space. Onset
Mhm.
of inhalation. And it's really, just woof, really very somatic.
Yeah.
Because I know, I've talked to a lot of people lately, a lot of younger people don't like that expression, letting go.
Right.
And,
Well, we
and
us humans have these control issues.
well, I didn't necessarily go there, but I
You're
mean,
right.
it is. How do you let go? Well, you hold a rock in your hand, you turn the rock over, and you let go. You drop
Yeah.
it. How did it let go? Gravity. You just let
Yeah.
you let go to gravity, and that again is this notion of just letting the bottom drop out of the bucket, the onset of inhalation. Ah, and when I do that, that's when I let go. What happens? Huge breath comes through. Couldn't be different from the hardly even sipping breath
Right.
that passes as normal.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, keep
okay,
going.
on your two
Yeah,
sides that you just said, one
yeah.
is you saying as the permissioner in chief,
A
permissioner,
permissioner. Okay.
as the
Right.
permissioner in chief saying, Mark, it's okay to not sit like a stone statue and let your body breathe and feel your center line or your through line. You have permission to let go here. That is huge for a practitioner, right? Coming from any mode of meditation, right? Or yoga or anything, mind body thing, Qigong even, right?
Of
That
course.
you telling me it's okay in front of you not to try to be perfect in the
Yeah,
method is a huge let go.
yeah,
The
yeah.
breathing, the stress, the anxiety, the somatic holding, right? So that is huge. And then I said, wow, that's amazing. Thank God I can suck at this for a little bit until I get it. But now, how do I tell my shoulder and hip to let go too?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I'm still struggling because it's set in my mind for decades how
Uh-huh.
to relax on the inhale.
Right.
Because everything about me wants to go up on an inhale
Well,
or go out on an inhale, not
right.
down on an inhale.
And the way you go up and out on an inhale is by first surrendering, going down on the inhale.
Okay.
Because so much fills up, it's like the balloon just starts billowing
Oh, I
and
see. See, I
get
just
it?
got it.
Yeah, so it isn't just out or up, it's
So you're a
there's so much
deflated
air
tire.
comes
You're the
in.
deflated tire, and then the air can
Exactly,
come in and raise you up. Okay,
exactly.
okay.
And you can almost feel this lightening or lifting going through
Yes.
every cell of
Beautiful.
the body,
Ugh.
right? Yeah, that's where this gets
I'm willing you,
cool
no
for
pun
me.
intended, my
Yeah.
colored pens for that lesson. I'm
All
willing you my colored
right.
pens.
All right.
But
Yeah.
I think that's
So
amazing. Yeah.
again, it's so interesting. What we're talking about is, hey, look, uh, we're born into a world. I came up with the term a somatophobic, our culture.
I love it.
Well, it
Yeah,
is. It is.
somatophobic.
We're gonna, make our brains work and
Right.
get good, and we're having to hold our body really still to keep zoom, 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 that ticker tape parade of thoughts up there in the head,
Well, that
right?
starts in elementary school, right? Sit still, don't move, be quiet,
Totally,
right?
totally. I remember.
Sit on the couch and don't move, watch TV, don't talk to me, right? I mean, that's our childhood.
Yeah, the one I really remember, and why? Because even then I hated these damn things, were these school chairs and
Oh,
desks. It was kind of molded
they were all connected, right?
metal, and then it was down below, and you opened up your desk,
You lift
and
it up.
the chair was designed by an idiot or something, right?
Yeah, a
And,
real
and
heavy
you,
person.
you just sit there.
You just look like Reverend Jim from Taxi in the second. You were like, well, you know,
Hey,
you
listen.
did the face.
What are the things? I used to be a very serious
Yes.
young boy, young man, and one of the things that happens when this stuff just starts, a little
You
bit
get
like
silly.
waking up, you get kind of silly.
Yeah.
You have to have a good sense of humor about
My
yourself.
students don't know what to make of me when I'm teaching them, and then I start getting silly because I'm having such a good
Such
time.
a good
And they're
time.
just like,
It's such a good time.
yeah.
Okay, so I alluded to something in the email that I wrote to
Yes.
you about, what this practice is. It really is about coming alive.
Yes.
And one of my favorite stories out of the Buddhist tradition, uh, a Zen teacher, Joshu, and I vision this conversation happening. Joshu is standing outside the meditation hall with maybe a senior student, and they're looking at everybody meditating in the hall, doing their good, still bodied. That's how meditation was done. Not much breath. The student asks Joshu, what is meditation? I guess some of these stories, it's not like asking, how's the weather? Just catch the
Right.
ball game last night. Teacher, what's meditation?
Right.
And Joshua's response, and I get him pointing into the meditation hall. It's not meditation. The student is puzzled. Why is it not meditation? Joshu says, it's alive.
Mm.
It's alive. It's about really coming alive, and we come alive through our bodies. We've been, I don't know why we got born into these bodies at this time on this planet Earth. Crazy. But I was talking to someone the other day too, and that thing I mentioned, the Whole Earth catalog came up, and uh, I remember one of their phrases was, "We are as gods, so we might as well get good at it." Well, I don't necessarily know
Love
we are
it.
as gods, but we are as humans, and we might as well get good at it,
Yeah.
right? And so, and the other
It's
thing, I'll share this very openly, Mark, when I'm playing with these practices, and then can, to the degree that I can bring it into my daily life, it's hard, right? Ah, it's, I almost I watch as my body then gets very still. I get into a conversation with someone. I get very still, I get tight. And I watch as my body starts tightening,
Mm,
painful.
yeah.
And that's Will. And I like to think Will's a reasonably decent guy, reasonably, right? Yeah.
Right.
And that's all great, but it's kind of like my somatophobic body. And then it's almost like I have this other body that I can open into, or what I have to enact these series
Open
of
out of. Yeah.
acts. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And I think part of that happens because we all have, I mean, we're all just energy, right? Everything is energy and intention. And we're just atoms moving around and protons and neutrons spinning, right? And when you're in front of some people, you don't get that tightening and that restriction. In others, you do. It's almost like the body is putting on its armor to protect your cells or your nervous system or something. Like Iron Man puts on his outfit, just it's like an armor.
Protect the physical body in the world of form.
Right.
I am a physical body existing in the
In
world
the
of
world of
form.
form.
I am inside here. Everything else is outside there, and near the twain
And
shall
I need
meet.
to protect.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Heart Sutra. Oh, it's not just form, gang.
Right.
There's also this wide open dimension of something or other. Or David Bohm, the quantum physicist,
Yeah.
towards the end of his life, he got that science is incredible, the infinitesimally small, the astronomically large. Gang, you're only looking at 50% of the picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's this other ineffable, but you can kind of feel it, but you can't really, well, you
Right.
can feel it, right? But it's a different kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And that somehow, both of those are interacting, or that's what it comes down to me. I think in the early 20s, I had a real great friend, a guy who was 20 years older than me, picked me up hitchhiking. We became such great friends, right?
Nice.
And our shared inquiry was, what would authentic being
Wow.
be like, right? What would
Yeah.
it be? What would authenticity?
What a conversation. You get picked up hitchhiking, you have this great conversation. That's amazing.
It was. I mean, I'll share the story because it's a good one. I
Yeah.
was hitchhiking from Oakland into an Asian Studies graduate school in San Francisco.
Nice.
Again, I was a mindy guy, scholarly guy. I thought, okay, I'm going to an Asian Studies graduate school. That's where I need to go. And I stayed there one term and realized this is not what I'm looking for, right? But I would hitchhike in from Oakland to the Asian Studies graduate school. And one day, Phil picked me up. And it was one of those things within 5 minutes, we're telling each other the story of our lives, right?
Wow.
And we got to where he was going to let me off. And we just stayed and talked for about 2 hours. It was like that. It was interesting. He shared with me that he and his wife had been on Maui and they did subsequently move the summer before. And he'd had one of these, sounds like Saul on the road to Damascus experiences that he's walking on the beach. It's funny. I can't remember if he was on LSD or anything at the time or not. I don't remember that. But all of a sudden, he was just struck to the ground
Wow.
on the beach. And when he came to, he knew with certainty that his purpose as an incarnated human this life was to help the Tibetan teachings
Huh.
come over to the West. And he and Anne, the Dalai Lama never made it to their property, but all some of the most senior Tibetan teachers were hosted on their property. And I remember I told him, hey, I just heard that there's a Tibetan Rinpoche, Tarthang Tulku, that has just opened shop in Berkeley. He's got, oh, you know what they did? they bought an old fraternity house. You know, fraternities come
Wow.
and go, right? One of these big old fraternity houses. And then they painted it like a Tibetan temple, red
Oh,
and blue and
cool.
yellow and orange.
Gold. Yeah.
And and he said, "Oh, he hadn't heard about that." And he was thankful for that. And we said goodbye. I didn't get his name. He didn't get my name. And I just turned around, hitchhiked back home, right? I didn't
Huh.
go to, obviously, I'd missed my classes.
Yeah.
About a year later, I went, that was one of the first Buddhist things I'd ever done.
Yeah.
I went to a weekend gathering at the Nyingma Center. And I mean, I won't go into how bizarre it was, but I'm walking up the driveway, you know, to go to the center, and a little car pulls up right in front of me, and out steps Phil.
No. Oh,
And I
see?
said, you picked me up hitchhiking. Well, he and Anne had moved into the center as full-time students, and then what happened? He was an art teacher, and I have a background. I was an art critic in New York.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know, I know. My persona, what I had to realize was limited, was I was kind of an Ivy League bon vivant art critic. You know, talk about,
Beautiful.
well, you know, it's still part of me, but you know, there's other things going on in life. But we had a
Nice.
real bond there, and I really encouraged him to move to Maui and be a full-time artist, which he did, and he became one of Maui's most
Wow.
well-known uh, yeah, the most well-known artists. But he and Anne had just moved into the center. They had this beautiful wooden home in the Oakland Hills, and he said, "Well, you probably don't have a place to live, right?" Which I didn't. I was pretty much a vagabond in those days. And suddenly I left that weekend with these new great digs.
Wow.
And that went on for probably about 5 months before the house sold. But I would remember probably three, four times at least a week after teaching art in Oakland, Phil would come, stop by the house, ostensibly to make sure that the house was looking good because it was on the market. But he and I just got, you know, it was
That's great. That's amazing.
just went deep. We
Yeah.
could ask each other anything, tell each other anything.
Wow.
I'm gonna keep going with that because this goes a bit deeper. And uh, some people have come to me or know me from the books I've written about Rumi,
Hmm.
who his great friend Shams
Right.
entered into a
Sounds
gazing
of
practice.
Tabriz. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And where that came from, I remember it was one afternoon and we'd done a lot of work. We're sitting at opposite ends of a sofa, a fireplace, that fog comes in, and
Oh,
Phil and I look at each other and we're just holding each other's gaze for a moment. And then we both look away really quick. And Phil said, "Whoa, what was that?" And I said, "Yep, I don't know." So we looked back at each other. And a few minutes later, I looked away again. Phil said, "Yeah, so what's going on here?" And I said, "Well, when I hold your gaze like this, I feel too much, feels too strong."
hmm.
Phil said, "Yeah, me too. What's wrong with that?" And an hour
Oh,
later, honestly, both of us never felt that our lives were, you know, quite the same. That was really the major practice.
that's the right question to ask. Not why is it happening or what the hell, but what's
What's
wrong
wrong?
with that?
Oh God, I just have such gratitude. And
Yeah.
Phil and I really explored this very, very deeply, and subsequently, you know, through my life with people. That's honestly what I was teaching mostly in the 90s.
Hmm.
A lot of that out in New York, I'd get invited, uh, you know, to go out there. It is an extraordinary uh, practice. It got to a place I would get people getting frustrated though, that they come to the workshops and you know, it wouldn't be with me that they'd gaze. You didn't have to,
It's a
you don't
staring
have to stare,
contest.
you know, you don't have to look at the great gazer. You just sit in front of another person and just relax and see what happens. And people are crying and bawling and laughing hysterically
Wow.
and carrying on. It is very, very, very high, and ultimately you
Mm.
just, melt away. Uh, and people would have such deep experiences and then write me that they're so frustrated they can't find anybody to do the practice with.
Right.
And at that point, I think I just did. I started shifting over because I was still doing a lot of sitting practices.
Yeah.
And okay, how about just this sitting meditation? I don't need the partner. I don't need the gazer. Look, some of us are lucky. We have partners. Some of us, we're single. That's just how it works. And it
Yeah.
just seemed that, more people were available to sit on their own. Long-winded detour. Sorry about that, but kind of a fun story, huh?
That's okay. But you know, something occurred to me. It may be correct, may be wrong, but
I mean,
it's just a thing. Like, so when two people are looking at each other
mhm,
and they don't have to talk
right.
and they don't have to interact, so all the masks start coming away, the persona,
That's right.
right? I don't have to be the businesswoman or the sharp, witty guy or the demure girl or the jock or the I'm going to be a rich businessman guy. When all those disappear, what comes out is the true self, right? And maybe you start crying because you're so relieved that you found it, or you're laughing because all that other shit I was doing, holding up the persona, as Jung says,
Yeah,
was hilarious. So
yeah.
maybe that's a good not talking, just sit and just kind of look and don't
Yeah,
worry.
that's true. And that's a lot of how the practice has evolved for me with
Yeah,
all the many partners I've had. What happens, I don't know why this happens, but you hold someone's gaze and all of a sudden there's sensations start arising,
right.
right? And and then sometimes, oh, they get scary. And if you can just be there and you're a scared little boy, and then all of a sudden that just opens and there's a wise old being,
That's
and
so
you
nice.
just keep morphing through all these
It,
all these different dimensions of yourself until you get down to the place where there isn't much left.
Now, is that something that you created from stumbling on, or did you read about that practice before? You just came upon it that
Phil
day
and I
with your
stumbled
friend.
on it that day. We
Yeah.
stumbled on it that day, and then
Did you give it a name?
no, huh?
Hmm.
It was so powerful in those days. I
Yeah.
would, do this with anybody or the spontaneous movements that were coming through my body. Uh, Someone sent me an excerpt recently from a book about John Lennon and Paul McCartney.
Huh.
And there was this passage saying, uh, during that period, John and Paul got into doing something they do a lot. They'd put their faces very close to each other and just sit and look at each other and just sit like that.
Oh.
And they would say that over time, the individuality would melt and they would kind of morph right into each other, which is what
Wow.
happens. And someone asked, they quoted this, and I don't have the exact words right, but they asked Paul about that and said, well, tell us about that. We said, well, it's very disconcerting because once you do that, you realize that just something else is so going on. And, uh, and then you ask yourself, well, how do you ever come back from that? And he said, and the answer is you don't. You don't.
Hmm.
Because all of a sudden there's this other, dimension. Look, we're talking about the sitting practices or the mind, the radiant mindfulness practices or whatever. Uh, if one's fortunate enough to find a partner,
Yeah.
what my wife and I would like to do at least a couple times a year. We prefer something like MDMA,
Hmm.
and we take it. We'll usually do some yoga practices or stretching, and then when we feel it coming on, we just get at opposite ends of the sofa and dissolve into the gaze for the next 5 or 6 hours. And people
Wow.
listening to this, you have to experience this to believe what happens. it's such an extraordinary
Mm.
opening that occurs. So, you know, I I'm not saying everybody should go out and do this. It's illegal. It's some people should not be taking these substances, right? You're on your own out there. You
You're on
make
your
your own
own.
decisions whether you want to be a break the law.
Or move to the country where it's legal.
Yeah,
Um,
or move, yeah. You
yeah.
know, honestly, one of the reasons that Coco, my wife, and I, 10 years ago, we wanted to move down to Costa Rica, we wanted to live in big nature. You know,
Mm.
so much of this practice is about awakening one's felt nature. And
Yeah.
we're better to do that. And I know we're very fortunate. We're better to do that within this. It's not just the visual beauty of nature, there's an energy.
There is.
Oh, I know one I want to share with you. This is going to be fun too. So, and it talks about just this healing power of nature, right? So, who gains access to the healing power of nature? Uh, I read a book many decades ago. It was by an Aramaic scholar. Aramaic was the language, I guess it was spoken in, uh, Palestine at the time that a
That's what
historical Jesus was born.
Jesus spoke Aramaic. Yeah.
Yeah, my understanding is that, right? And he mentioned that one of the difficulties with something like the Bible for Christians is that it's a translation of a translation of a translation of a blah, 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 right? And he cited one in particular that I still get goosebumps over. And whatever religion we were raised uh, in or not, most of us have heard, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth."
Yes.
Right? Yeah, hey, like I say, you don't want to be a flaming jerk
Right.
in this life, but I always thought, yeah, but you want to be just kind of meek, or I had this vision of these
These little
little
meek guys.
old, the little old women in the Western who are hitting the cowboys with their purses. The cowboys go into Miss Kitty's bar or
Right.
something, right? And so hey, Mark, get this. Instead of blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth, more literal translation. Fortunate are those people who have learned how to soften their rigidities,
Mm.
for they gain access to the universal healing power of
Nature.
nature.
Nice.
Isn't that
Oh,
incredible?
that's wonderful.
I mean, it's so what uh, characters like you and I are up to,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
We soften, and then all of a sudden there's something. It's not just so me inside here and everything else outside there. There's like radiance.
Well, you
It
talked
starts
about
to,
you
yeah,
talk about sky gazing, right?
right,
And
right,
collapse of separation. So that's
right.
kind of you need to be in nature for that. It's hard to gaze. I live in the suburbs of Philadelphia. I'm not in the city. I'm 40 minutes out, and I
Ah,
can look up in the sky. I have an acre of lawn, right? Which
wow,
isn't bad for this little area,
that's pretty good.
with a stream behind it and a
Oh
nature
my
preserve
God.
on the other side.
Yeah,
But we've got neighbors, left and right. So
of
even if
course.
when I'm looking up, I still have lights of many houses in my visual field. I mean, they're
Right,
not that close, but it's still disruptive.
right.
Uh, but so what happens in your understanding and your teachings of the sky gazing and collapse of the separation? What is your process for that? I mean, if you weren't imbibing a substance and if you are
Right.
imbibing a substance, yeah,
No difference.
no difference. Okay.
No,
Yeah.
no. It's the same practice. Remember my Pure Land
Pure land
folks?
and and
No, this is working for them.
right.
I got into this a couple of weeks ago in a practice. I was sitting kind of outside. The sun wasn't on me, but I could look out, and we are
Okay.
fortunate. We have a very, very large, expansive
Nice.
open view space. And what I realized, a couple of things here. Let me sit up again. That first of all, I'm doing this practice. Remember, the body is kind of moving up, moving down, almost like, is it? cow, cat in yoga that you
Oh,
get the,
cat cow, yeah. Cat cow, cow
and
cat.
it's just moving, right? And if I really let that happen, I can't keep my gaze held on one point.
Right, you can't.
It's harder.
Right,
And,
I
and,
can
and I also
imagine.
do a lot of gazing practices, holding my gaze on one point. But this one, it was like I exhaled and it kind of went right sort of in front of me. Inhale. And the top of the inhale was,
Why?
it's like binocular or telescope focusing. All of a sudden, so big and open. And then I exhale and I let that go and I come right back down here. When I'm down here, I don't want to hold that big opening and
Right,
be, too much tension at the same time. To get to the big, you can't just
right,
stay sort of focused.
right.
So, and I got that the,
Oh, that's wonderful practice.
I wasn't holding my attention on any point in the visual field,
Right.
something like
Making a
that.
note.
Okay. I want it
So
again.
what I think of there is when you're inhaling and you're expanding, you get the eagle's eye view, like you're above and you're seeing everything, but you're now below seeing everything wide. And when you exhale, it narrows, so you get the worm's eye view or the frog in the well looking up from a small space. Little
Yeah,
analogy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And again, exhale, it kind of comes down. Inhale, the visual field just expands. That's the beauty of sky gazing because it's very big.
And you're
It's
doing
very
this
big.
sitting, not lying down,
I
correct?
do it sitting.
Yeah,
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 and,
yeah.
and doing this breathing that we were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Wow. How does the body become radiant?
How does the body become radiant?
Come
Well,
on now.
come on
I
now.
warmed you up.
You warm me up. On every part of the body, down to the smallest cell, there is sensation. This is Ubakin Vipassana, right?
Yeah.
There is sensation. It's like little gazillion little percolating, vibrating sensation. But when we're lost in thought, we don't feel that,
Yes.
right? So, uh, just shifting one's focus from just this place of lost in thought. Oh, okay. I call it sending out invitations to
Ah,
every cell of the body, because mostly the sensations in the body, they've been sent off into exile, into the land of the unfelt, so I can ticker tape parade up here in my mind,
right.
right? Okay, so then there's that place. Remember, there's sensation everywhere, and you start feeling it. And when, as soon as the sensation accepts my invitation to wake up, I greet it with this gesture of
Ah,
letting go and relaxation, melting.
nice.
And gradually the numbness and the tension can start melting. Fortunate are those people who've learned how to soften the
Yeah.
rigidities within. And there is this kind of almost like palpable radiating that can that you feel, and it feels completely natural and frankly kind of delicious.
Yes.
Now, you know what? I don't know how much time we're gonna hang here, but one thing I would like people to get, I talk about how it's wonderful, it's delicious, it's
Hey.
ecstatic. I really love the Tibetan Vajrayana. Is that the
Yeah.
taxi driver again? The Tibetan Vajrayana, because they said, look, it's not just about peaceful and getting chill. There's these wrathful energies as well. And what will happen for me in my practice, I'll, uh, start my sitting and yeah, the breath starts letting go and 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Yeah, there is that opening, there's that thing. Hallelujah. I often think of some of these big, that's not a goal. We're not trying to get
Right.
there. It's just this current. And what happens, peaceful entity, it's like peeling an onion, you know? Oh, it's radiant, it's beautiful. And then 2 days later, it's oh, next layer. And that's what I found happen. That was very challenging for me,
Mm.
my early days as a Vipassana. student because I'd have these big openings, and 2 hours later, I felt like a truck was crushing me.
Mm.
Right? I sometimes think about this like opera. Not that I know that much about opera, but I
Right.
think the first act of opera, the village, oh, everything is happy and joyous. Everything's right with the world. They sweep the stage. In the second half, everything goes to hell, right? And it's kind of like that. I think that these awakenings, they radiate, and then they let the next deeper layer. The Theravadins call it the reservoir of sankharas. I think of it as the primal
Mm.
contractions, right? That next one is there, and these energies, they can be, hey, look, Tibetans talk about the lion's roar. They ain't talking about a kitty cat's meow. They're talking, they're talking about some kind of big energy or qigong. You
Yeah.
can get into these big, gorgeous energies, and sometimes I have to let myself feel. This morning it felt almost in some ways like prehistoric.
Mm.
And
Nice.
I'm not, oh, I'm going to get in touch with my prehistoric self today. It isn't like that at all. It's you're surrendering to this current. When you start softening, letting go, you let everything go, and then it just starts untorquing and unwinding and moving through the whole thing. It's not just in the direction of the peaceful, calm, and clear.
Mm.
Oh, my life is so good. It's calm and clear. That again, you want to get into the body, these deep
Right.
bodily things. And it takes a lot of courage. It took me a lot of courage to give myself
Yeah.
permission to, hey, I'm a good Buddhist boy. And the next thing I know, there is bottomless sadness,
Mm-hmm.
or I feel like I'm being suffocated, or I feel like, yeah, well, I'm Mr. Breathing through the whole body, so I'm just going to breathe through the whole body and get out
That's
of
right.
this place.
That's right.
That's not how it works. You're riding the current. The breathing through the whole body takes you on these places.
Hmm.
Okay, how are we doing?
Nice. We're
We've been
doing
at
good. If you don't have to run yet, I just have a few
I know.
comments I just want to make because I've been making my notes here as we're talking because
Yeah.
I'm learning. I just been learning so much talking with you. Will, thank you.
Well,
I
thank
appreciate it.
you. Like I like hanging out with a character like you. Honestly, I don't have that many people that I
Yeah.
can have these kinds of conversations.
Yeah, likewise, likewise. So we'll have to do more socially. But interesting thing from my practice, and I'd like to have
Okay.
your input
Sure.
on, is I often find it easier to still my mind meditating with my eyes open and not closed, with a softening, not a hard gaze or a hard stare, but a softening. And I know you talk about opening the eyes, which is radical for,
Yeah, yeah, I get that. Yeah, yeah, most of the times for most meditation practices, we go to our first meditation lesson, they'll say, close the mind, go inside. And there's a good reason for doing that.
yeah,
Because
shut out the senses.
we're so ordinarily just drawn out by the objects in the visual field that we forget that there's this universe of experience inside. So that's really good that way. After a while, I have got to open my eyes because I find that the keeping of my eyes closed is actually causing too much tension that's just like fuel on the fire of the monologue,
I find that
right?
especially if I'm not tired, that I have to force myself to keep my eyes closed.
Yeah, exactly,
If I'm not
exactly,
sleepy, right?
exactly. Our eyes close. We go to sleep at night, our eyes close. We wake up in the morning, we're awake, and I take naps these
Yeah.
days. But that's different. Some of the Dzogchen practices,
Yeah.
some of the eye gazing practices are very much open-eyed. As I said, I I have what I call somatic koans. Number one is, just dancing with the line. Number two is sending out the invitations. It's pure Talopa
Love
Mahamudra.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, Talopa said, hey, look, meditation, all it is, just relax. Well, I want
Relax,
to
dude.
evoke, I want to evoke this awakened, relaxed shimmer everywhere in the body, and then we get back to the Buddha. As you breathe in through the whole body. Or Rumi, how he says it, he was so body oriented,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Rumi's statement was bringing breath to life. You know, we're sniffing, we're sipping. No, bring it to life.
Yeah.
The essence of every true path of spiritual awakening. And then for me, the fourth one then is now open your eyes and not bring one iota of tension back into your cranium. Just keep doing the practice. Don't fix your gaze necessarily anywhere, and you see the whole of the visual field all at once. Just
Hmm.
like you're feeling the whole body all at once, you see the whole visual field all at once. You know, eyes are open now. Even just, you know, sitting, if I was doing anapana or concentration practice or just remaining aware of breath at the front of my nose, I would much prefer to do it with my eyes open. I
Yeah.
hated having my eyes closed.
Okay, so I'm not crazy for that. Okay.
You are definitely
I've
crazy,
mentioned it a few
but
times.
not for that.
Yes. Well, I said for that.
Okay, okay.
The other
No,
27 things is,
no. So here's what's interesting. So I'll get this often from students. Well, Will, this is happening. Is that okay? Yes.
Okay, yeah.
If it wasn't okay, it wouldn't be happening,
Right, right.
right? I mean that, and they said, well, you know, I feel I've been struggling with myself for so long, and I want to stop. Well, yeah, I guess you had to struggle with yourself to get to the place where you could let it go. I remember
Yeah.
Edward S.B. Brown. He's now a Zen Roshi. He
Mm.
wrote a book called the Tassajara Bread Book, and I was in the early 70s. I was moving out to the country. I was going to be a country hippie, right? And I wanted to learn how to bake my own bread.
That's right.
I got that book, and I always remember he said something in that book. You're starting to learn how to bake bread. There's no such thing as blowing it. You know,
Right.
if the bread doesn't come out delicious, you had to do it that way. So then the next time, and the next time, and the next time, you do it
Yeah.
differently. I mean, everything is perfect, like
The
it or not.
interesting thing with my eyes open meditation is that my attention is fully inside my body, feeling the cells of my body, even though my eyes have something in front of them.
Hey,
I'm not attuning or attending
interesting.
to the view.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that comes from, 47 years, 40 of Eskrima practice, which is Filipino stick fighting martial art,
Got
where
it.
it's vast and intricate and you're going back and forth out of sequence. There's no sequencing as you advance to, two sticks against one. It's fabulous, right?
You
I
got it.
and I can do that while having a conversation with somebody
Yeah, because you're in this relaxed
because
place.
you're
You
in
have
you're
to
in
be
the
in this
field and
relaxed
you're
place to be
moving
actually able to do it.
and the body's got its own mind, the
You
body
know,
mind, not the mind body, right? But the
yeah.
body mind and my mind can be in a conversation. So from that, I believe that I can have my eyes open, the television can be on, the radio can be on, but I can still go inside. It,
Hallelujah.
I never had it. But when I shut my eyes, the frigging movie
It's so
theater opens.
interesting. I mean, I got that way too. With my eyes shut, there was even something about the tensing in the
Yeah,
eye that the only way my mind dissolves is just through complete softening, melting, letting
softening.
go,
Right.
relaxing through the entire cranium.
Contrary to what I hear from other practitioners, is that their mind stills while they take a breath. My mind stills when I stop breathing. I don't hold my breath. I just stop breathing.
Mm.
Right. So holding your breath is you're putting a cap on, you're tightening, and you're just holding your breath. Not breathing is just you're relaxed and just not inhaling or exhaling. You're
I got
just there. And when I do that, my mind goes still.
you
But I
got
have to breathe soon. And then
yeah.
my mind would go again. But so so
Welcome to the world, amigo.
I feel like this junkyard kid who like, let me teach you meditation, son. Open your eyes and don't breathe. It's like,
Hey, look, I get what you're saying. You know what? I
yeah.
often sometimes, especially when breath is really opening, I'll get into a breath that
And then you just stop. You're not holding it, you just
I'm not
stop.
lingering. I'm not
Right,
holding. I'm just
right.
lingering. And it's almost like the breath continues to the degree that I can keep softening the rigidity,
Right. Because I
right?
believe the lungs will keep expanding as long as they want to or have the space to,
Yeah, yeah.
the
And
permission to.
I do that, and I like those moments because in that moment of letting go, sometimes, especially with a full inhalation, we'll talk about the
Right.
inhalation first. You're right up at the edge of your envelope of how much letting go and expansion can occur, and then I just feel into it and soften. Another one. This comes from Ida Rolf. Remember, she was about spiritual awakening. How the breath that she this is my go-to koan about. It says that body is something wrapped around the breath.
Huh.
Like
Yes.
you think of wraps, mummy wraps, but no, no, no. Body is something wrapped around the breath. Let the wraps move freely like silk scarves. Body, I love
Yes.
that. I really feel my cranium starting to let go, and there's this lovely amoeba like blowing up a balloon
Yeah.
on the inhale. Now look at the bottom of the exhale. Sometimes you can just hang there. You know what I find that I prefer to really linger at the bottom of my inhale when I'm lying down.
Yes.
Because that for me then on the on the exhale, I mean, I'm sorry, did I say inhale?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
exhale is sitting up. Linger,
Because
linger.
you're the hot air balloon,
Hot
and
air
now the
balloon.
hot air balloon goes down. You want to be lying down.
Exactly. So, and when I'm lying down, what I do with that, Mark, is that the onset of exhalation, I just surrender the weight of my entire body to gravity.
Wonderful.
And it just keeps going. Just keeps,
Nice. I love it. I love it. Oh man. So
yeah.
I want you to comment on time because it's a big thing. I do my contemplation, or if you're religious and you do religious contemplative prayer, or I find my 20 minutes a day to meditate, to chill out and find my Zen moment, but that's totally, I don't want to say worthless. It's not as productive as one may like it to become because you don't reach a threshold of enough experience in the practice to have to cross over from the over that threshold, right? I mean, that liminal space. And I think I heard or read that you're of the opinion that, look, if you're not doing 3 hours of a 10-day retreat, a something, 5 hours looking at your wife across the sofa, you ain't doing it. So what do you find between the 20 minutes and the 5 hours or the 10-day retreat?
Yeah,
You
you
know,
do what you do. You do what you do. And yes, I think it's like, if you really want to experience this awakening, you you got to commit to it. You got to do stuff. I do. Remember, we were talking the sitting practice. It's very physical. The
yeah,
practices that you do, they're very physical. I'm in the pool in the morning. Sometimes 20 minutes or an hour. Sometimes it's just standing and letting what we call the latahan go on. Then
nice.
I'll sit for maybe an hour. Sometimes just the practice that we're talking about. Sometimes a four-part practice that I do some strong breathing as well. That for me is my foundational stuff. In the afternoon, it almost seems like I want to do more again.
Yeah,
I'll, maybe do some more, stretching. I have Coco and I enjoy a Pilates reformer.
nice.
You
Those are
know,
great.
yeah. But to keep on doing stuff now, what about the rest of the day? This is where my challenge and cutting edge is. So this is where the last book that just came out in April, Radiant Mindfulness. How do you take this practice that you and I are talking about out into the world while you're walking to
Yes.
work?
Yes.
You know, and obviously when I'm out in public, I'm not totally
Well,
living with.
not anymore
And
since the arrest.
yeah, I don't want to draw attention, but I can go out there and there's that breath again, and
Yeah.
vision is soft. and it's wide. Now, hey, when I do this practice a lot. Now, also, I live in Costa Rica, so there's not a lot of traffic.
Right.
So we were just in Austin, Texas. I don't think I'd want to do it there. But what I do, I'm in the car and I take a really deep inhalation. Just let go. Full body deep inhalation, the top of the inhale, what we were talking about earlier. I just let the visual field be here. Hey, that's very good for when you're driving.
Okay, kids in the city and the suburbs do not breathe and drive.
I I haven't tried it. I don't know that I'd want to. But
Yeah,
but yes, you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
I am an
I do.
obsessive. I'm a fanatic
Well, you
about
have to be. Yeah.
this, exploring this dance of awakening.
Yeah.
But- Because it's so rich, and every day there's more, and there's something different. The goal is to ride the current. The goal is not to get any to some kind of goal.
Right.
It's to wake up and then ride the current, just
Well,
like everything.
if you're seeking enlightenment or you're seeking relaxation, you won't find it, right? But the current will take you where it's supposed to take you.
Yeah, to me, it's learning how to yield to this current.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I know with Ubakin Vipassana, a Goenka style Vipassana, very, very important for me in my early days. Um, and Ubakin would say the first thing you want to, I think his words were activate anicca. I call it awakening the shimmer,
Mm.
experiencing the body as just this vibratory, tingly thing, right? And he said that when that occurs, then you start getting privy to a force. He
Yeah.
called it Nibbana Dhatu, the force of enlightenment, that suddenly a force comes through and you just surrender to that force and let it take you wherever it does. Now, obviously, one big difference between what I'm playing with and uh, the form of Goenka style Vipassana, which is extraordinary for people to do. It's very still, however.
Yeah.
For me, this Nibbana Dhatu, I call it the current of the life force. And it's very organic and it's very undulating and motile. And to me, it would seem that one of the things without which you don't have a force is that forces move or want to move. That isn't true for all forces. But forces, mostly, I think of them as moving. And for me, sitting in a very, very still body, holding back on the current of the life force is counterproductive to that surrender to this, whatever it is that we just then ride
Yeah.
into the peaceful manifestation, into the wrathful one.
You
This
know, the philosophy behind, if I could be wrong, but if I'm remembering correctly, the philosophy behind the stillness is the analogy of the glass of water with the dirt in it all shaken up and you can't really see it, and the longer it sits, all the dirt goes and settles at the bottom, then you have clarity for the water above. And we want to find clarity in the mind to see our original face and blah 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 blah. So for attaining that, the Japanese have a word, it's called no mind, mushin, from the warriors. You need to have no mind with the sword because as soon as you think you're going to die, and while you're meditating, if you're getting into a deeper state, I find that once the cortical kicks in, you think or you acknowledge it, you jump out of the state immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
So sitting
Exactly.
still helps you not react to stuff. But I think after you get the hang of stilling the mind, a bit, that you need to start letting the body move and breathe because
Well,
the
yeah,
practice has to be embodied or
yeah,
it's like half a practice to me.
yeah, totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
again, we're speaking to each other's choir here.
Right.
Uh, for me, the quiescence or stillness of mind. What is unfortunate is that people then have correlated that with rigidity of body, frozen stiff.
Yes.
And for me, if this place where everything, lets go and the ticker tape parade is pulled, the virtual reality headset is off, and I don't know what's going on, but there's the visual fields coming right through me. There's something that's dissolving right through the visual field.
Right.
that only happens when this deeply relaxed and very motile, spontaneously motile
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
body can get.
Wow. So my analysis at the end of the day of Will Johnson's teaching and methods, ladies and gentlemen, is that when you sit for meditation, you are not looking for a position, but to enter a process. How's
Mm,
that?
that's really great.
All right.
I love that. The line is not a fence post.
Right.
Einstein had this line: life is like riding a bicycle. To keep in balance, you have to keep moving.
Yeah,
Something,
that's true.
something like that. And uh, I always liked that one. I
Oh,
always liked it a lot. It just everything just keeps moving. It's kind of taking the straitjacket off, letting this current come alive and riding it.
well, I want to thank you, Will Johnson, for this
And
wonderful time and conversation.
fun to hang with you.
It's been so much fun, and I know our community is going to love it because the whole through line of the inner life practices that I try and teach is every practice needs to be integrated with the other practices. Like you have music and poetry and meditation and blah 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 down the line.
Yeah.
And those practices cannot stop when your practice time stops. Something has to fundamentally change within your body that carries over into life.
Into life. It's not like I do something, so okay, I did it. Now I'm going to have the effect. No, you just keep doing it.
Just keep.
And you know what? I sometimes think that this other that I talk about when everything is awakened and sort of conventional will is, it just kind of melted away a little bit. I think of, uh, when that starts occurring. Oh, it's not just an event, a one-off event. It's, oh, then what's the next moment? Sometimes people say, well, Will, what about, what's the easy way of talking about what you like to do with your practice? And for me, it's, how much can I let go on the next inhalation?
Beautiful.
End of story.
That's the head mantra, the top koan.
Yeah.
It goes
How
from a
much can I
koan
let
to
go?
a mantra. Forget
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
What about it?
Forget about it.
Okay, amigo. I really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
this with you too. And let's you and I stay in touch for sure.
Yep.